Hello, everyone. How are you tonight? Thank you so much for joining us tonight on behalf of the Northern English Language Teachers Collaboration Network Sabah or NELCONS. I'd like to warmly welcome all of you to tonight's Community of Practice session. This webinar is part of our ongoing series of NELCONS webinars, where we aim to share best practices, classroom strategies, and practical insights to support English teachers in the Northern Zone and beyond. And we are now in our live series 2.0. So, before we begin, let me share how the session will be conducted. We will first have our 45 minutes of presentation by our speaker. Then this will then be followed by 15 minutes of Q&A session. So if you have any questions during the talk, please type them in the YouTube live chat and we will address them during the Q&A session. At the end of the session, we will share the registration form link for your attendance record. So please make sure to fill in to get your certificate of attendance. Also, we have our Padlet for session reflection. So please kindly visit our Padlet and write your reflection of this session in the Padlet. This is very important as it shows active participation and help us strengthen our NELCONS activities. And lastly, don't forget to follow the NELCONS Facebook page for updates on our upcoming webinars in this series. I hope you are clear with that. So now let's move on to the awaited moment. Our title for tonight, Beyond Fun, Understanding the Factors of Enjoyment in ESL Learning. That is the topic for tonight's live session. Here with us tonight is Dr. Norfadzillah Chin. Dr. Norfadzillah Chin is an academic lecturer in the ESL unit at Institute of Teacher Education, Kent Campus, Tuaran, Sabah. She holds a PhD in teaching English as a second language or ESL, and with her doctoral research focusing on the development and validation of a psychometric instrument to measure enjoyment in ESL learning among Malaysian ESL learners. Her research interests include English language teaching, learner enjoyment, motivation, learner engagement, learner autonomy, psychometric assessment, and educational innovation. She is actively involved in research and innovation initiatives aimed at enhancing English language education. Dr. Norfadzillah has received several recognitions for her contributions to education, including the Guru Adiwira Wilayah Persekutuan Labuan Award and the Innovative Teacher Award. Beyond academia, she is actively engaged in community outreach, serving as the coordinator of educational programs for rural schools across Sabah. She also collaborates with teacher education institutions and colleges to support professional development and promote educational excellence. Driven by passion for meaningful English language learning, Dr. Norfadzillah is committed to bridging research and classroom practice by equipping educators with evidence-based strategies that foster enjoyable, engaging, and effective ESL learning experience. Her webinar, Beyond Fun, Understanding the Factors of Enjoyment in ESL Learning, explores how enjoyment influences language learning and provides practical insights for creating more engaging and meaningful ESL classrooms. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our speaker, Dr. Norfadzillah Chin. Hello,
All right,
Doctor.
Hi,
How are you
Madam Carmila.
doing?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm good too. Thank you so much, Doctor, for being with us.
All right.
So
Okay.
I think the audience are eager to listen from you. So without further ado, I now hand the session over to you, Doctor, to share
right.
your insight on Beyond Fun, understanding the factors of enjoyment in ESL learning. Over to you, Doctor.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Madam Carmila. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good evening to all the distinguished guests, school leaders, fellow educators, researchers, professors, doctors, and I believe my students are here. My family is also here. Thank you for being here today. First and foremost, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to the Northern English Language Teachers Collaboration Network, Sabah Nelkens. This is a very good effort. And of course, to the PITAS Education District Office, Sabah State Education Department, and also British Council for the kind invitation and the opportunity to share with all of you today. This is an honor to be part of this community of practice where I believe all of us are passionate educators. We come together to learn from one another and continuously improve our teaching practices. So when Madam Carmila invited me, asking if I can be in this webinar, I told her I will treat this like a session of sharing rather than a webinar itself, because I believe that all of us we bring different experience in our teaching practice. So I would like to reintroduce myself. My name is Dr. Norfadzillah Chin, but you can call me Dr. Ella. I'm an academic lecturer in IPG Ken campus, Tuaran Sabah. So today I would like to talk about something that we often hear in our classrooms, but perhaps we don't always to think deeply about this idea, which is enjoyment in learning English. I believe that perhaps you would say that, oh, this is like somehow a very redundant topic. Okay, but let's us think about this. As English teachers, we often hear our students say, "Oh, teacher, today's lesson was really fun." Well, naturally, if I'm a teacher, so I feel very very pleased because I assume that I have delivered a successful lesson. But I would like us to think about this statement for a moment. Does enjoying English lessons simply mean students had fun? Or is enjoyment something much deeper that influences how they learn? How do they engage in the classroom? How do they participate and ultimately being a successful language learner? So throughout this session, we will explore together what enjoyment in learning ESL is, why is it matter, and the factor that contribute to it, and most importantly, we as the educators, how we can intentionally create learning experience that are both meaningful and enjoyable for every learner at the same time. So I hope, as I told you, I treat this as a sharing session. By the end of today's sharing, we will leave with not only a better understanding of enjoyment in positive emotion from a research perspective, but also on the practical ideas in which how we can apply this in our own classroom practice. All right, let's look at the slide. Okay, now before I begin, so let's reflect. When students say they enjoy English lesson, um, what do they actually mean? So let's say, teacher, I really enjoyed today's lesson. What do you think they mean? Do they mean like, oh, because we're playing games? Yes, of course. I think, with today's classroom climate or atmosphere, we have AI, we have games, right? Or does it mean like no homework, so I feel enjoy learning English? Or simply having fun? Or like the lesson like was very entertaining? Or it is something deeper than that? All right. So I believe many of us would immediately associate enjoyment with fun activities, which is completely understandable. I'm a teacher. So after all, as I told you, with all of the technology that we have today, the games, songs, role plays, competitions, readers theater, jigsaw reading, well, it makes our lessons more lively. But here is something interesting that we should know. Okay, research consistently shows that enjoyment is not simply about having fun. In fact, students can enjoy lessons that are actually quite challenging. All right. And let's think about the last time your students successfully completed a difficult speaking task, or they finally understood a grammar concept that had been struggling with. So probably you can see smile, or probably they felt very proud. That feeling, that sense of accomplishment is also an enjoyment. So today, I would like us to move beyond the idea of enjoyment, which is enjoyment. Of course, it equals to entertainment, but it is beyond that. So let's move on to the next slide, um, which is we would like to look more into the definition. What is enjoyment in learning ESL? So, simply put, enjoyment is a positive emotional experience. So, it happens when learners feel engaged, when they are appropriately challenged, when they are supported by their teacher and also classmates, and of course, when they experience success throughout the learning process. So, do you notice that I did not actually mention having fun? So, that's because enjoyment is an opposite of hard work. All right. So in fact, some enjoyable learning experience happen because students overcome challenges. So I would like to put you into an analogy to understand enjoyment in ESL. So imagine that you are climbing a hill. The climbing isn't always easy. Am I right? I believe Sabahans, we are hikers. Okay, so you might feel tired along the way, but when you finally reaching the top, the satisfaction makes the effort worthwhile. Am I right? So basically, this is how we learn English. Learning English works in much the same way, especially when we put ourselves into the situation that English is our second language. In fact, perhaps in certain areas, in certain demography, English perhaps is the foreign language. So students enjoy learning when they realize, I couldn't do this yesterday, but I can do it today after Miss Ella's lesson, for example. So that's feeling of growth, builds confidence, motivation, and a genuine desire to continue learning. So, ladies and gentlemen, okay, let's move to the next slide. I hope that I'm not going too fast. Okay. So now let's talk about why enjoyment is important in learning ESL. So why enjoyment deserves our attention as the educator. So sometimes people think enjoyment is simply an added bonus, but research tells us, Gregerson et al. Describe enjoyment as one of the most common positive emotions experienced by language learners. Okay, this is also in a systematic SLR literature review. So more importantly, it influences on how students approach learning. Okay, and students who enjoy learning English are generally, it shows that willing to participate, have the willingness to communicate. They are more likely to ask questions. They are more less afraid of making mistakes, and then they tend to being more perseverance throughout the learning process, especially when it comes to challenging process. So this is also very much when we're talking about enjoyment, positive emotions. And previously, we have Malaysian Education Blueprint that ended in 2025. And then now we have Rancangan Pendidikan Malaysia 2026 and to 2025. So if you look at the pattern and the trend of all of these blueprints, they encourage us to develop learners who are not only academically capable, but also resilient, engaged, and also the lifelong learners. So at the same time, language education has undergone an important shift. In terms of when we are talking about the paradigm of positive psychology, let's say we are talking about learning ESL. So we could see that all throughout the years, previous years, I think my era as students, researchers have heavily focused on negative emotions such as anxiety, fear, and stress. But today, if you look at the research, it is influenced by positive psychology. When actually we are asking different questions, we used to ask, how can we reduce anxiety? How to make students less fear of speaking English? We are also asking, but nowadays we are asking, how can we increase enjoyment? Okay, because reducing negative emotions doesn't automatically create the positive ones. And then finally, why do we need to learn enjoyment? It's because um, enjoyment has the direct impact on learning itself. Students who genuinely enjoy learning tend to think more deeply and then stay engaged longer, recover more quickly from setbacks, okay, and ultimately achieve better language outcomes, which is also in line with our Malaysian education philosophy, right? So enjoyment isn't just about making students happy. It's not about making students have fun. It's about creating the emotional condition that allow meaningful learning to happen. All right. So moving on to the next slide. All right. So we are talking about enjoyment. This is not something that, it's positive emotions, it's there and that's it. Students learn, they feel happy, they are being engaged with the lesson. But there is the science behind enjoyment itself. So there is this theory of flow, which is one of the most influential theories when we're talking about positive psychology. It's not only about learning, but also about well-being. So, which is introduced by a psychologist. His name is Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi in 1990. And according to him, there is this term called as flow, which is a mental state where people become completely immersed in what they are doing. So when they are focused, they lose track of time because they are fully being engaged in the activity. So I think I'm sure it's not only about learning English, but many of us we have experienced this ourselves, right? Um, um, for example, okay, perhaps for teachers, perhaps you are like marking homework, or perhaps you are really into developing your teaching and learning materials or lesson materials, or even when you are reading a good book. So you look at the clock. You start at 12, suddenly you're not realizing that it's already 3:30, and then like 3 hours have passed. So that is what actually flow is if you are looking at this graph here. So the same experience can happen to our students when they are in English classroom. So what does flow actually look like in learning? So that is like about doing things. So first, when we are talking about when we are like relating the theory of flow towards learning, and let's be specific about learning English. Okay, first, of course, learners they have clear goals. Learners learn better when they have clear goals, so they know exactly what they are expected to achieve, rather than feeling confused about the task. Second, the activities provides optimal level of challenge. I believe this. The SIC plus always mention about differentiation. Not too hard, not too easy, optimal in the middle, which is supposed to be, I think, teachers, you should know that, right? So it's not too easy, not impossibly difficult. So students need to stretch themselves, but they also believe that success is within reach. Okay, and number three, learners develop deep focus instead of looking around the classroom or waiting for the bell to ring. I used to do that as well. They are genuinely absorbed in the task. And another interesting feature, as I mentioned before, in the theory of flow, is they lose track of time. Okay, have you ever noticed students saying, "Oh, teacher, is the lesson already over?" So usually that's a good sign. Yeah. Finally, the learning itself becomes rewarding. You as a teacher yourself, we are not waiting for gifts for Teachers Day, but that experience itself is a very big gift for us. So students do not participate just because there are marks, just because there are, tidbits given to them or rewards, okay? But they enjoy the experience of learning itself. All right. So, in the ESL classroom, um, okay, our goal is to keep learners within this flow channel as much as possible. So when that happens, okay, students become more engaged. They are willing to communicate. They are being less afraid of making mistakes because they're focused on solving the task rather than worrying about the failure. So as they experience small success, their confidence grows, and where confidence grows, enjoyment, of course, naturally follows. So this is why enjoyment isn't something we simply add to lesson through games, through icebreakers, okay? But it emerged when learners feel this task is challenging, but I know I can do it. So you might be asking me how flow leads to enjoyment. So in learning ESL, so the process is actually quite straightforward. We begin with designing meaningful tasks with clear goals, and students understand what they are doing, working towards. They are able to focus their attention, and then as they engage deeply with activity, they begin to experience progress. All right. So they complete tasks, they answer questions, and then they also create the sense of competence. And that feeling of competence leads to pride, satisfaction, and of course, genuine enjoyment of learning ESL. So, in other words, enjoyment is not the starting point, it is the outcome of well designed learning experiences. So, that is actually our job as the teacher. So, all right. So, after like we have been talking about this, all right. So I've been talking about theories of flow and then why is it important and so on. So, what are actually the four factors of enjoyment in learning ESL? So I can say that there are four factors that we could focus. Okay, the first one is the engagement, autonomy of the learner. Number two, and number three, self-attainment, and number four, of course, peer factor. So in the next session, okay, I'm going to touch on all of these four factors, and of course, giving you the ideas. What can we practice in the class? Especially when we're talking about differentiation in classroom activities for high proficiency and also low proficiency students. All right, so let's look at the first one, engagement. Okay, so what is an engagement actually? Is it somehow like, they're being really into the task? Okay, I would like to try to make this as simple as I can. So engagement means we are being actively involved. Student being very interested and fully absorbed in learning English. All right. So, how engagement supports enjoyment in learning ESL? Of course, when students are being engaged with our lesson, it captivates their attention. Okay. And then it creates positive emotions and promotes connection, in which it encourages interaction not only with the teachers, but also with their peers. And also, there is collaboration, okay, helping learners to feel connected and supported. And of course, engagement, it builds confidence and motivation and leads to deep enjoyment. So let's look at I think this is the most exciting part waited by the teachers. All right. Creating engaging ESL lessons. The principles of engaging lessons, it should be relevant to the students. Connect lessons to real life. I think this is supposed to be one of the things that our teachers know, especially when we're talking about authentic materials. It should be interactive, okay? More student centered activities involve learners through speaking, listening, and doing the activities. We should offer choices, we should set clear goals, and also celebrate progress. So, for high proficiency students, what we can do is number one, of course, challenge them. We can use higher order thinking questions. We can use open ended tasks and problem solving activities. Number two, we can promote in depth discussion, encourages debates, okay, reflections, and sharing opinions to deepen thinking. And then encourage independence rather than, being the helicopter teacher. We should give freedoms to our student, of course, with the designs of our lessons, okay. And then offer enrichment, okay. It's not only that, perhaps we have to, give feedbacks and so on. And also promote peer leadership among our students. For low proficiency students, of course, scaffold learning. You break content into small steps. We use visuals, gestures, and examples to support understanding. We can use simple and clear language. Okay, provide supportive practice. It can be pair work, the high proficiency with the low proficiency. Okay, guided practice and sentence frames built on small success. Okay, and of course, make it fun and interactive. All right. Um, so it is important when it comes to creating engaging ESL lessons. We should to be able to create a safe space for the students. Okay, build a supportive classroom. We as teachers ourselves supposed to being able to be the safe place for the students to talk to. Okay, foster classroom community. Okay, connect and care, and of course giving meaningful feedbacks rather than just touch and go. And the next factor is autonomy. Okay. You might be thinking, oh, I can't do this in Malaysian settings. Um, you might be thinking that, oh, I only have like 1 hour of lesson. How can I promote autonomy? My students will be running around the class. But there are ways for us to do this. Okay. So, what is autonomy? It's the ability and willingness to take responsibility for one's own learning by making choices. Okay. Setting goals and reflecting on progress. So, how does it support enjoyment in learning ESL? It increases ownership. Okay, there is research saying that when students are given choices in classroom, they perceive the lesson better. Okay, compared if it is a well-controlled classroom. Of course, it boosts motivation, builds confidence, encourages personal relevance. They will be thinking, well, why am I learning this? So they have their own reasons of learning. And then autonomy also develops lifelong learning habits. I think the problem with our students in Malaysia, I think as a teacher, I experienced this that perhaps that we are being too pro- being being a very we provide everything for the students, but I think with the positive change that we have, I think autonomy is already being promoted in our recent curriculum. All right. So, in creating autonomy in ESL classroom, does it mean that we are just okay, class? What do you want to learn today? Okay, actually, it's no. Yeah. We always number one. For high proficiency, we offer meaningful choices for them. For example, when we are giving topic, they can choose reading materials, their own reading materials to get information. And perhaps, okay, we can set personal learning goals. I think when we're talking about setting personal learning goals, this happens especially when the teachers are teaching exam class, right? So let's say you're saying that if it's 10 marks this test, perhaps next test will be 20 marks. And actually it could help the students. Okay, and of course promote independent research here means that we let them learn, okay, with all the facilities that we have today, with the internet connection. Okay, our students are being exposed, so let us use all these chances, exposure as the platform for them to learn. Okay, and then we can also use flexible output options, which we allow students to demonstrate learning through presentations, videos, blogs, okay, debates, and more. So I think um, with TikTok or with YouTube, we can use this, yeah, okay, and encourage reflection. This is a practice that I think not really being practiced in our Malaysian education system. It's only the teachers who reflects, but students also needs to reflect on their learning. Okay, and of course, empower peer collaboration. For low proficiency students, okay, we can provide them with simple choices, offer limited but clear options. Yeah, for example, choosing pictures, choosing topic or tasks. Okay, of course, set small achievable goals, use structured tasks. Okay, we offer guided choices, encourage simple reflection, and build gradual independence. Maybe you give like a little bit of independence here, and then you can, develop the autonomy throughout the year or semester. Okay. And the third one, self-attainment. When I was doing my PhD, I remember this. We are doing literature review, and I was actually talking about this framework, discussing this with professors. They were like asking, why you just put motivation under self attainment? But self attainment is actually a factor that being repeated throughout my literature review. Okay, because what is it actually? It is the sense of achievement and the satisfaction that comes from recognizing your own improvement in English. So how does it support enjoyment in learning ESL? It built a sense of achievement. Okay. Have you ever been in a situation that you learn something or you want something, but you do not achieve anything at all? And you feel that, so what's the purpose of me doing this? So it same goes with our students actually. Okay. And it encourage personal growth. Okay. And in which that they see their own progress, which motivates them to learn more, okay, and creates joy and satisfaction, and of course strengthens perseverance. Okay, when they get to know they are capable, they are being able to achieve something. Uh, all right, and they get being challenged, and then they manage to do it. So they feel that they are being having the capacity of doing the task, and then of course turns effort into enjoyment. All right, let's look at the on how we can support self-attainment in ESL classroom. Okay, the key principle of self-attainment is of course we can recognize progress, and again set um, achievable goals and build confidence, encourage reflection, and also celebrate effort. So again, set challenging, purposeful goals, provide opportunities, okay, and then celebrate achievements publicly, give specific high-level feedback. For low proficiency, we again it is suggested to set small achievable goals, provide guided practice, celebrate small wins. Yeah, use visual progress trackers. Okay, we have so many productivity trackers nowadays in which we can use that in class, and then create supportive environment and encourage self-reflection. And then the last one, even though this is the last factor, but I think this is like one of the most popular choices for the students. Yeah, peer factor in ESL learning. So I think as a teacher ourselves, when we enter a classroom with sets of students, okay, this is the word, the vibe. Okay, the vibe of the students for every cohorts, it will be different. We can sense if the class is having like a supportive environment. Okay, so is it about the students itself? Yes, but I think teachers, we play a very you know a very important role for to set up this kind of positive vibe among our students. I remember that I think one of the usual techniques as teachers, I think your class, can do better than the other class, but just to set it up. And somehow my experience as a student myself, as an ESL student, yeah, I think we can do it, because you know what? Because you have friends that can help you. So I think this kind of thing helps a lot. Okay, so um, so how does peer practice supports enjoyment in learning SL? Of course, it makes learning more fun. Okay, when students are interacting with their peers, okay, brings laughter, conversations, and enjoyable moments of every lesson. Um, I think I have read also articles that talking about negative psychology, especially in anxiety of learning English or speaking English. I think students, they are being very afraid of being judged by their friends. But if you try to tell your students that this is a process of learning, Making mistakes is okay. Let's us improve together, and then you can see on how they become more confident. All right. So that's why I said it builds confidence, encourages participation in classroom, rather than saying that, oh, they are introvert, they can't work together. But some introverts, they can work. In There are many people who are introverts, I think, that can work in groups, right? And then create sense of belonging. Okay, if they know that friends are not good enough, they are willing to help their friends, promotes learnings from other, and of course increase motivation. All right. So for high proficiency students, okay, we can do a language mentor program. So the good one, can be paired with the lower proficiency students. Okay, we can also model effective communication. So demonstrate respectful listening. Okay, as teachers, somehow, I know teachers, we like to talk, right? So somehow we need to practice respectful listening. Let our students talk, and then we listen and we respond. So this is like a good model for our students themselves, right? And then lead collaborative tasks. Okay, so in which that we should facilitate discussions and encourage equal participations. Okay, share learning strategies. Okay, perhaps that student A couldn't understand a grammar structure, student B could help. And promote inclusive teamwork, in which encourage the quieter one to be paired with the more confident one to contribute in the lesson. All right, so follow proficiency students. Okay, um of course, they can practice with their peers. Okay, use pair work to build speaking confidence. Okay, and then we should tell them they should learn without fear. Okay, work with supportive classmates who encourage effort. Use peer scaffolding. All right. Okay, and of course, build confidence together and enjoy cooperative activities. So I would like to highlight this. Okay, for all learners, as teachers, we should tell students that we should respect differences. Okay, not all of them are perfect. So when you come to my classroom, okay, we should help each other to excel English. Yeah, I know it's hard. Okay, but I think as teachers, we have the power to do that. Okay. We are the owner. The ownership of the class is ours, right? We build trust, and then of course, sandwich technique of giving feedbacks, positive, negative, and the positive one. Perhaps that is very basic, but we always forget about that, right? Me myself always forget about that. So of course, and learn from each other. All right. So I think that is the last slide of the presentation and the webinar today. Madam Carmela, are
Yes,
you there?
doctor. Yes, that's right, doctor. I really enjoy your sharing tonight. And doctor, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Okay, so I really enjoyed your sharing tonight, especially the part where you said about setting the
Mm-hmm.
vibe for the so that the students can learn without of without being fear of being judged. That is, I
Mm-hmm.
think, something that is which is very important for our learners nowadays. Okay, so let's check if we have the questionnaire from our audience.
That's like me nervous.
Yeah. But okay. Before we move to the Q&A session, let me share some reminder for all of us, especially for our audience who are watching from YouTube. And in the meantime, all the audience, you can post your questions in the live chat. And also in the in the Padlet link that we have shared with you. Okay. Okay. So do you have questions from the audience? I think you have lots of fans here, doctor.
Hello.
I see all the comments from your students.
Ah, okay. I'm going to see them tomorrow.
Okay.
Some of them, a few of them, I think a few batches, they have been very busy with the um,
Hmm.
unit uniform carnival, but they're still like, spending their time. I'm giving them mini love.
I see. Okay. Okay. So let me let me check. Okay. Before we move on to the Q&A session, I would like
Mhm.
to remind our audience, we will share the registration link form for your attendance record. So please make sure to fill it in. And we also ask that you write your reflection in the Padlet. The Padlet serves as your space to post your questions and also your reflection. So please make use of it. Um, this is very important. It shows active participation and help us strengthen our NELCAN's activity. And lastly, please do not forget or remember to follow our NELCAN's Facebook page for updates and our upcoming webinars in this series. So let me check. We have questions in the Padlet, but we cannot show in the in the YouTube on the screen. Okay. I think I'll have yeah. I think I'll have read the question from the Padlet. Is it okay for you, doctor?
Okay, I do read. Yeah, you can. I think you can. You should read for me. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So there is a question. How do we build or plan an enjoyable lesson?
But here the question is different. What if in the process of learning, pupils are very engaged with the lesson, but they sometimes use bahasa to respond? Do we
Hmm.
consider it as a success lesson? Okay, so we have different school of thoughts here. I think Madam Carmila, during our time, our English teachers, they are being very stern. No bahasa Melayu,
Yeah.
right? But there are different school of thoughts. Okay, for me, okay, we know that students, they came from various levels of proficiency. But let's say the instructions are in English, but if the students ask you questions in bahasa Melayu, somehow it shows that we should accept the fact that students actually can comprehend your instruction. That is actually a success. And from there, perhaps you can, scaffold the students, okay, to being able to being a proficient learner. So it cannot be like from the Z, suddenly they become the A plus. There is process. So somehow let us giving the chance for our students, without us being judgmental to the students ourselves.
Yeah. Okay, so there is a question in the Padlet.
Mm-hmm.
How do you teach students reading skills under limited time frame?
Mm-hmm. How do
Hmm.
we address students reading
How do you teach?
skills?
Yeah, how do you teach students reading skills under limited time frame?
Okay. Okay, under limited time frame, I think of course we have like of per session 1 hour and so on, right? But I think these questions might be from my students who are going for practical soon. Okay. Um, One of the thing is you have to remember that we have our curriculum, right? So teachers, we are not solving the problems of the world. You have to remember that. So if let's say you want to teach everything within 1 hour, I think your lesson is not going to be successful. Being very focused of your lessons, ensure that students can achieve your lesson objectives, and that's it. Again, learning is a process, so we cannot force students from not knowing ABC suddenly they can read a PhD thesis. So the key word here is being very passionate. Teachers, we should have that quality, being very passionate with our students.
Thank you, Doctor, for the question. Let me see if you have, but I I have a question actually. So let me ask my question before, other, other than the questions in the YouTube. Okay. So my question is: many teachers worry that making lessons enjoyable may come at the expense of syllabus coverage or
Mhm,
examination preparation, especially in Form 5 classes. So
mhm.
how can ESL teachers strike a balance between fostering genuine enjoyment and ensuring students meet curriculum standards and perform well in high-stakes assessments?
Mhm. So perhaps that we still have the paradigm or way of thinking that saying that enjoyment should be like songs, should be like role play. So as I mentioned before, okay, the four key factors of enjoyment, which are the engagement, autonomy, the self attainment, and also peer factor. Somehow we can work from that strategy in order to to achieve our goals that is set by our curriculum. So again, enjoyment is not always about entertainment. This that is about on how we foster all of the four factors in our lessons.
Hmm. Okay, we shall try that. Okay. Um, let's see. There is a question in Padlet. How do I attract my students, especially those who have low confidence during English class because they are scared to speak in English? So
How do we? Sorry.
how how do I attract my students, especially those who have low confidence during English class because they are scared to speak in English?
Okay. Of course we cannot expect students to read a thick text for English. So if they have low confidence, especially in speaking English, we can start with guided activities first rather than asking them to do public speaking. Perhaps we can begin with choral reading first, let them
Mm,
do it together with their friends, or we can start with activity that make them collaborate with their friends first, and then after that I think we can let them go, giving them the autonomy after that, so that they can feel the sense of self-attainment.
mm, okay. Okay. We have another question. Oh, I like this audience. Okay, we have another question. What is your best advice to the teachers who need to teach English subject but has no background in English subject, including marking exams? For now, they just teach students by experience.
All right,
Okay.
so I think this is like one of the hot issues in
Mm,
schools, in states, in our in MOE, non-optionist teaching English. So
mhm,
I think one of the best ways is, of course, I believe that Madam Carmila herself is the SISC plus in PITAS. I think KPM we provide many courses, okay, but I'm not sure on how well or how broad it is being, being um, how can I say this? How many teachers are being involved when they make courses?
Mm.
But we have to remember, when you are assigned with the role as an English teacher, or even let's say you are teaching maths, so that is the responsibility for us. Okay, that self improvement is supposed to be there, right? Keep on learning and so on. And I believe there will be the lights at the end of the tunnel after that. And I think PPD should know on how on the numbers of non optionists to teach English. And with our promotion to invite more people to become teachers, I believe that we could provide better education.
Right. Yeah. Okay. The Q&A session is getting hotter. Okay. We have a question on the screen, Doctor.
Okay. What is your approach for limiting students' reliance on generative AI? Wow. Citing Cosmina et al. 2025 and Reversa 2000, among so many others, about the negative effects of AI on education. Okay, teachers, I don't know if this person is from tertiary level, or you are talking about students from high school, or I'm not sure about students in primary schools. Okay, I think the AI for students in primary school should be the parents who answer the the homework, right? um okay, so if you're asking me what is the approach for limiting students reliance on generative AI, first, we cannot control this. Actually, it is actually evolving. All right. Even I think if you're talking about research nowadays in thesis, we should declare if our thesis is being, uh, you know, we are using AI in our thesis. We should declare it nowadays. That is what I know, the latest one. But if you are asking me on how we are like um, controlling our students being too reliant to AI, there are so many ways. If you ask me first, I would always ask my students to write one or two, even three paragraphs within 30 minutes for using their own handwriting. So I will compare with the assignments they submit, and I could know if it is AI. Number two, if you are teachers in high school, design activities that should not be brought to home, so that sometimes teacher they just giving the task and students just write down from AI. But somehow, like writing tasks should be scaffolding. You should not allow students just to write, go back and just write. Okay, if there is no AI, do you think your students are not going to copy and paste from the reference books? Okay, so there are always ways for them to do that. So again, scaffold our teaching design or lesson plan. Always provide students with supports of language system. Are the best ways for them to learn, rather than asking them, a lump sum works. Assign them with a very big project at one time.
The session is getting hotter. there are more questions coming in, but I'm very sorry for our audience. I wish that we can answer all questions posted in the live chat, but the time is not on our side. So I encourage the audience to use the Padlet link, and please post your question, share your question in the Padlet link so that we can address it later. Okay? Is it okay, our beloved audience?
Okay.
Okay. So the attendance links has been posted. So please fill in the attendance, fill in the form so that you can get your certificate. So yeah, other than the questions, we also have lots of positive questions, compliments for doctor. I think
uh,
we should show them. Okay. Let's show some of the compliments that have been shared by the audience. Where is it? Oh, I see some comments. See you tomorrow, Miss Ella.
Oh, I saw Maxwell, my friend.
Yes, and your
Thank you,
students are
Max.
here. Representation. Huh.
Thank you, Michelle Ballon.
Okay. Proud to see
Full
Miss
support
Ella.
from Ken. Okay. I know these students, they are being very busy, but they're willing to giving their support tonight. I
Yeah.
really appreciate that. But
And
I'll
I
see you
also see
tomorrow.
I also see some students from Labuan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
teachers from Labuan.
Yeah. Teachers and students, I think.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very
Possible.
much. This is just like a small sharing, but perhaps maybe we can do better next time, right, Madam Carmila?
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. Okay. For the attendance link, uh, there is a code for the attendance link. You need to use the code that has been posted together with the link. The attendance code is Nelkens underscore ESL underscore learning. Okay. Oh, I think the link is broken. Okay, let me try fixing that. Okay, let me try fixing that. Mm, try. Okay, we have posted the new link and in the attendance code. Okay. Okay, tech team help me pin the link. Thank you. Can I have feedback from the audience? Can you fill in the link? Is it okay now?
Yes, that is very useful for your 1 hour Hermes.
Yeah. Okay, so while our audience is filling in the attendance, um, on behalf of Nelkens, I would like to once again sincerely thank you, Dr. Norfadzillah, for your valuable sharing with us tonight. Thank you so much, Doctor, for being with us. And we look forward to collaborating with you again in the future, hopefully. So,
Inshallah. Yes.
as our heartfelt appreciation, let us enjoy this appreciation video. All right. Thank you so much, Doctor, once again. And we also would like to thank all of you, our beloved audience, for joining our webinar and for being actively participating tonight. Your commitment to continuous professional learning is truly inspiring. So once again, Um, we are very sorry that we couldn't answer all your questions, but we do have our Padlet. So please post your question in the Padlet so that we can address it later. Okay. So before you go, please remember to fill in the registration form. The link has been shared and pinned in the live chat. And we also ask you to kindly write your reflection in the Padlet and together with your unanswered question. This is very important for us to show engagement and impact. And please follow our Nelcon's Facebook page to stay updated on the next session in this webinar series. And if you cannot do all the filling in right now, you can copy all the links first and do it later. And I would also like to thank the entire Nelcon's technical team for tonight for their hard work in ensuring the smooth running of tonight's webinar. We hope today's session has provided valuable insights that you can bring back to your classrooms and stay connected with Nelkans because we have more exciting webinars and professional learning opportunities coming ahead. So until we meet again, take care, keep inspiring, keep learning, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you and good night, everyone. Bye-bye.